Hey guys, got another saber video for you. I'll keep it short and sweet, seeing as we've seen this hill loads. The main thing I want to cover today is fonts. So this is a build I just finished for Jake. It is a 89Sabers OWK2. Actually, this might be the OWK1. Can't remember off the top of my head. I think it's the 2 because it's got the transparent clicky auxiliary button. But yeah, anyway, it's covered in fingerprints at the moment. I will clean it off before I send it back to you, Jake, I promise. But I just wanted to give you a rundown of how it works, some of the things we've done in putting this together, and hopefully you're happy with it, and if you are, then I'll ship it off to you. So without further ado, let's get it started. So I've epoxied the thumb screw into the KovTech knob. So basically you unscrew the thumb screw, and then you can spin around the lower chassis piece, or the lower hilt piece, to show the internal kill switch, which will flip when there's battery in, but there's not, so I've got to take off the whole thing. But this will typically be how you activate the saber, just by unscrewing the KovTech, flipping this around, and then clicking the kill switch. Because we don't have a battery in it, if you ever need to get the battery out or replace it, the entire pommel unscrews, and then this piece, I'll just pull it off to get it out of the way. And then the entire chassis, if you put 2 thumbs on it, you can just kind of push it up and slide it out. And it will just slide out like this. The diameter of the 89Sabers hilts lately have been a little bit off. So every chassis that I've printed so far or ordered for an 89 hilt has always been really, really snug. So I had to do a lot of sanding on this chassis to get it to fit, but it does fit. So we're ready to rock and roll. So this is your chassis. It's the Goth 3 Designs Eco chassis. Components wise, it's a Shtok V3 up the top, 2 brass tactile switches on either side, battery contacts, kill switch, Proffieboard 2.2, and a 24mm speaker, I think, 24, 22, can't remember off the top of my head. And then this is your battery, 18650 3120 milliamp hour, so it's got a little bit more juice than the other batteries available. Done a chrome wrap for it, just to kind of fit the build and fit the amount of fingerprint magnetic chrome that is all over it. Putting the battery in, you've got 2 ends, negative, positive. The positive one goes to the end with the nipple, so basically it's nipple to nipple. The springy side will be your flat negative side. If you put the battery in the wrong way around, it will fry the Proffieboard and then you'll have a dead saber, so don't do that. Make sure when you put it in, the easiest way to do it is to do it negative side first, so negative to the spring, and you basically just push it in and down, and then it will click in. It's a little bit snug, like I said, but it goes in perfectly fine, and it comes out perfectly fine as well. To get the battery out, I just tend to like tap it against my knuckle until the front part of it comes loose, and then you can flick it out with your finger. It's nice and easy. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Once the saber has a battery in, you can flick the kill switch to activate.
This is where the fun begins.
Then you'll go into the first font. I will turn it off while I'm just putting it back into the hilt. I tend to do that as a safety measure, just in case these pins at the top make contact with anything on the inside of the hilt and short out any of the components, because you really want to avoid that if possible. The chassis only goes in one way, with the buttons pointing towards the buttons, obviously. So just line it up, and there's like grooves that it'll slide into. It won't go in the other way around, so don't try and shove it. But it's, again, like I said, it's pretty snug. Just kind of slide it in slowly. When you're putting it in, don't push on the speaker. By all means, push on the sides of the speaker, but do not push on the middle membrane, because you'll pierce the speaker and then you'll have no speaker. When you get it most of the way in, I'll just tuck it down even a little bit further. There we go. What I like to do is get it all the way in until you can start to see some of the threads for the pommel, because that means that when you screw the pommel back on, it'll push this up into its final place. Or I can just give it a shove like that, that's fine too. Just check the buttons are okay. Sound happy? So I will now reassemble the hilt. Obviously this piece only goes on one way because there's a KovTech screw down the bottom end. Pommel goes on. That. Then the KovTech, which screws in, just line up the 2 holes. Like that. Be gentle when you're threading things together. Try not to cross threads of anything. I forgot to turn it on. That's really stupid. Be gentle when you're threading things together. Don't cross threads of anything, because it is delicate, like I said.
This whole operation was your idea.
So if you misthread anything, you could do damage, and then we'd need to retap or drill out and retap the hole, which is kind of a pain. So Just make sure threads are aligned and stuff, and screw it in gently. Don't force anything. If you feel any resistance, stop, back the screw up, and then go back the other way. So this is pretty much it. Let's just boot up to show you with the blade plug in, because I love the one thing I like about the 89Sabers OWKs is the blade plug and the illumination on the side bezels. I think it's fantastic. See how nice that looks. Anyway, let's get a blade in this and run through some of the fonts. There are a whopping, I think we settled on 34 fonts on here. Really crammed it as full as we can get. We can obviously put more sound fonts on, but blade styles, I mean, the board is at the max. Obviously, this is a Proffie 2.2, and you get a little bit more memory with the 3.9s, but I had no idea that you would want this many fonts on there, this many blade styles. Your blade is here. It's a Padawan Outpost 1-inch thin-walled blade. For testing purposes, I'm using my 7/8" blade with just a little adapter printed, because my 1-inch blade is pretty thick down the bottom. I need to make a new 1-inch test blade, so I'll get around to that at some point. But for purposes, this is fine. Obviously, use your blade with it when it comes, which I will also ship out to you. I had to sand that blade down as well to fit. Everything about this build is pretty snug. Let's actually just drop the adapter in first. There we go. And then the 7/8 all the way down. When the blade goes down, if you give it a gentle push, you'll feel it's kind of spongy, springy. That's it, making contact with the pins on the end of the connector. So what's good to do to make sure there's good contact is just kind of hold the blade down and then tighten the retention screw. Obviously don't over tighten the screw because you'll strip threads or damage the blade, which you don't want. So you just go until it's snug. Just turn it until it gets snug. That feels good. And that's not moving anywhere. Cool. Right, let's get started. So, first font that it'll come onto is Anakin Skywalker. I'll try and be quite quick with the fonts. I mean, you know what you were after, Jake, so I did it the way you wanted it. I won't describe every single font on here, but I'll try and show them off a little bit. I will say all the fonts, all the canon fonts at least, like all the character ones like Anakin, Count Dooku, Luke, Vader, all of those ones have tracks and appropriate quotes, which can be triggered. The saber's using the FET 263 button prop, which I will send to you, which indicates the controls. So for changing fonts, you just click the auxiliary to cycle through. When it's held upwards, you'll cycle forwards. When it's held downwards, you'll cycle backwards. And obviously power to ignite. And when the saber is off, but on a certain font that you like the track for, you press and hold the power button while you're holding it horizontal, and that'll enter the track player. When you're in the track player, you rotate the saber to choose the track, and then you click power to confirm that one. So for instance, oh, didn't hold it for long enough. This is one of the Anakin soundtracks from episode 2, I believe. Yeah. You can stop it with a long press as well. So yeah, they've all got tracks, they've all got quotes. The quotes will play when the saber is on. If you do a long press on the power button, that'll play a quote. And that's the same for all the fonts, same button config. The only thing that differs is the sounds, the quotes, the tracks, the blade colors, and the blade styles. Other than that, the buttons are all the same. So let's get going. Like I said, Anakin, light side to start with.
Master Skywalker, there are too many of them. What are we going to do?
Click the auxiliary for blaster blocks. Things like that.
Meet Obi-Wan Kenobi. I am a Jedi, like my father before me. I've got a bad feeling about this. Lord Vader. Count Dooku.
There are too many. We must persuade the Commerce Guild and Corporate Alliance to sign the treaty.
I sense Count Dooku. You ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
Where is he?
It's just bad these days.
You should have killed me when you had the chance. Ignition. The one true Emperor. The might of the final order will soon be ready. Do not fear their feeble attack, my faithful. Nothing will stop the return of the Sith.
Now this is pod racing.
This is the pod racer one. This is a bit more unique one. This is the Sauron sound font that we found. So I threw on some extra Lord of the Rings tracks, which I had on here, because I actually own the soundtrack on CD, so I just ripped some of the tracks off. But the blade style is just a flame blade with all the traditional Sauron blasts and clashes and things that come with it.
Green.
Now we're into some of the freebies. The kyberphonic Kyber's Workshop pack basically has 6 different fonts with 6 different colors, and they all sound slightly different, so I just threw them all on there, may as well. So I'll skip over these. I'll just show you one of them to start with. This is the green one. They're like generic lightsaber styles, and there's 6 of them, and they're all different colors. Blue.
Red.
Red.
Purple.
Purple.
Yellow.
Yellow.
White.
White. And now we're on to some of the other ones. These are the grayscale fonts. So these all have custom blade styles, and the blade styles are pretty heavy. So this is where we almost ran out of room on the Proffieboard memory to fit all of these in, but they're so unique and they're free, so I couldn't not throw them on there. They're all fantastic, really, so I'll just show them off. They're all gorgeous. And I think there's 5 of these, maybe 6. They're really crunchy.
Mercenary.
Last one, I think.
This is where the fun begins.
And then we're back around to the start. So there you go, that's 30 odd fonts on there. I pretty much covered everything, I think. This will be shipping to you with some extra accessories that you wanted, with an Allen key to do the blade retention, with a charger for the battery, and with the Padawan Outpost blade. I think the Padawan Outpost blade we went for in the end was the 32-inch, because this hilt is quite light, so what can happen is it can feel a little bit kind of unbalanced if you've got a really heavy blade on the end of a very, very light hilt. But yeah, I hope you're happy with it. If you spotted any changes that you want making, any other tweaks that need doing, do give me a shout. If not, I will get this one shipped off to you as soon as I can. Best practice, obviously turn the kill switch off when you're not using the saber. I even sometimes advocate for not leaving them with a battery in, just because I mean, it's very rare, it's almost never going to happen, but if the battery does for whatever reason fail inside the saber, then you've broken a battery and a saber instead of just a battery. It's entirely your call. It's obviously, the Goth designed chassis is really, really good. It's very unlikely to happen, but you know, better safe than sorry. I don't keep any batteries in my sabers. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Any questions, give me a shout. Any problems, also give me a shout. But apart from that, I hope you're happy. I'll clean this up, package it, and get it shipped out to you if we're all good to go. Thank you for watching, guys. Jake, thank you for choosing to get me to install this for you. It was a pleasure, and I know you've got some extra sabers lying around as well that also need doing, so hopefully this has been enough to convince you to get those done too. Yeah, that's pretty much it. May the force be with you guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.